A man represents God to his family. Now, I want you guys to calm down and listen to me. When I talk about this, I usually get a lot of retortion and blowback, especially from women who says, why should the man be God? Okay, why can't the woman be God? And all those things. This is not where we come to. This is not an argumentative video. This one will be debate. Now let us understand the structure of the family. And why do I say man represents God? For us to truly understand what I mean by that, let us look at who God is. Now, simple explanation. We don't need to do any strong, definitions and all that. Who is God? And the fact that I'm talking about God, then I'm talking about people who are religious, people who have some level of spirituality. So if this is not you, you don't believe that God exists, or there's anything like a God concept in your mind, it's non-existent, please just move on. For those who believe, let's move on. Now, who is God? God, first of all, is the provider of life. He gives life, right? He's also a director. God directs the path of people, that believe in Him. It makes things easier. When we're about to be foolish, God comes and protects us. God saves us. In those times when we are weak, He helps us with decision making. It does some things that at the moment or at the interim might seem foolish, or might seem, it might be against what we plan, but then we find out that God's will can be superior. So basically, what we see about God is that God loves us first, and by Him showing that love to us, we have been given the opportunity to love Him back. So let us bring that into the family. Who is a man in the family? Very quickly, I'm just going to be running through a few things I have pointed out that a man is. Now, let me read this out. A man represents God to his family. If he is not an epitome of love and provision, then he has poorly represented God to his family. Here are a few things a man is meant to provide for his family. Whether I like it or not, a man must represent love and provision to his family. If he cannot represent those two things, then he has poorly represented God. God is love, God is provision, God gives. God is simply love, and love is giving. And if a man is not that entity, if a man is not that in the family, that has been a poor representation of God to the family. It means the man is not the man. The man is not a husband. The man is not a father. So love and provision. So what are the things that a man provides? The first one he provides a name and a legacy. Now, a name and a legacy. A man, it is the duty of the head of the house to name the house. Now, naming a house is not just about saying, take my son name. That is an outward sign. But naming a house means you have built the name to be worthy of bearing. You go out as a man to build yourself, to build your reputation, to build your name, so that those who carry your name have a benefit from carrying that name. First of all, you give them an identity. An identity is not just what I call you by, but what does it mean when I call you by that name? Same way God gives us an identity. For those of us who are Christians, we believe that, the man should love his wife just like Christ loved his church. And Christ loved his church also by naming her. Named her Christian after himself. The church is named after Christ himself. Just the way we are a part of Christ's body, the same way the family is part of, the man's body. The man is the head of the family, but everything is him, So he names every member of his household. That's why this author on whether a man should take their husband's surname or not, and all the fight. I don't see it's so necessary, but for many reasons, many people have found it to be necessary. But I want to point something out. A name is just beyond just the name. The legacy that the name carries. A gift. You're supposed to give a gift to your children. Your children are not supposed to start from scratch. And the first thing that your children are supposed to get from you is a name. Something to give them identity. Something to go by. And that name has to have a what? Something that when they call that name in public, there's a what attached to it. Something to remember. There are a lot of things we want to do, but then we remember our family name and we know that this is a name that cannot be soiled in the mud. Because of that, we don't do many of those things. Well, I found myself in situations where I wanted to do some kind of crazy things, but I remember that my name is Bison. And what has that name, been built to be? What is the reputation that follows that name? This is a reputation that cannot be trashed in the mud. Because of that, I desist from doing certain things. And that is it. We all will desist from doing certain things by virtue of the name and the legacy that the name carries. So, first of all, a man provides that. That's the first duty of a man is to provide a name for his family. The first duty of a man is to name the family. And look at it in the Garden of Eden, when Adam had to name Eve. First of all, before even naming Eve, Adam named all the animals. And now God put Adam in charge, and one of the signs of Adam's dominion over these creatures of God was that he named them. That is the first thing he did. He named them. And when woman came, man looked upon the woman and said, she will be called woman, for she was taken out of man. That means that one of the main injunctions of the man from God is to name his family. Is to name his family. Is to name his woman. Is to call her by a name. That's why women do a lot of name changing. She is no longer Miss, she's Mrs. A man is Mr. for as long as when I was single, it doesn't really change. So what that does is to tell you that a man names the family. This family bears the identity of the man. So the man has a heavy load on his shoulder to behave in a way that is becoming of that name, a way that is worthy of that name that is passing across. Now, the second thing that a man should provide is basic needs. Now, a man should provide basic needs. When you have a family, a man should provide the basic needs, which are essentials for living. Clothes to wear, a house to live in. Those basic physiological needs need to be met by the man. Other needs like maybe the best phone, the best car, those are not essentials. The onus does not lie on the man to provide those things. He could if he has the capability, but no man should start a family where he cannot feed them. No man should start a family where he cannot clothe them. No one should start a family, where he cannot provide the essentials, the basics. Those are the things that a man needs to be able to provide. And I'll take us again to the scriptures. I'll take us again to very early in the scriptures, in Genesis, in the Garden of Eden, and how Adam was given work, to tend the garden and all of that, and watch over everything that God had created. And it was obvious that by the time God saw this action and he said it was not okay that man should be alone, and then he brought about Eve to be a helpmate in the tending of the garden and in life generally. And what does that send to you? What idea does that portray to you very clearly? Is that the man has to have something, something that he's doing, a purpose that he's chasing. Because a woman cannot come and join you when you don't have something you are chasing. So you have to have somewhere, there has to be a mission. Submission, from the Latin word sub and missio, two Latin words, sub and missio, which means that is submissio. Submissio simply means under a mission. It means there has to be a mission that your woman can be under. If your woman is going to submit to you, submit to what? Submit to what mission? You have no mission, you have no vision, you cannot get a person to submit to you. So that is why we're saying a man has to have a purpose, but beyond that, he also needs to be able to provide the basics, for his family. So that's the second thing the man is supposed to provide. And these are the things that God, we look up to God for. So I say the man fully represents God in the family. 3, he provides direction. Remember me talking about God being a provider of direction. A man provides direction. Now, like I said, I think this also, I think I have crossed into this point in the last point I was making. He provides direction. Now look at it. When I was making the initial point and I spoke about purpose, direction, that is what it is. Because if I'm going to get a woman, I posted out a tweet recently and I was like saying, if you are going to get a woman, if you are dating a woman and you don't know if she's your wife or not, you don't know if you're going to marry this girl or not, it means you are purposeless. A man with a purpose knows the kind of woman he needs. He knows the kind of woman he needs to get on board. He knows the kind of woman that needs to be on his corner. And he knows if the woman that is with is such a woman. So if you are confused about where your woman or your girlfriend that you are dating right now stands, it shows you are not a man of purpose. If you're a man of purpose, that will have been figured out. That's the simplest thing. Because you're a man of purpose, you know where you're going to in life. You know the people that can feature, in this journey. Yes, of course, you still need some maybe spiritual guidance and all of those things, because many of the things that we see with our eyes might not be it. But beyond that, that certainty. In fact, why do you even go and toast her before if you don't know if she's going to? You see, that's the thing we do. Well, we're just playing a lot of plenty games. I will not approach a woman and tell her to date me if I do not see her as a possible marriage candidate. I may just be a friend to you, but if I ask you to date me, I say, I want us to be boyfriend and girlfriend. I have seen you already with my children. You see, I have seen some things about you and I want to know more. And that's why I want to come to know more closeness. Many people think that, for example, I saw a post, someone said, me and this guy have been friends for a year, for about 6 years. We don't really do anything together. And then recently we got together, we had our first sex, and then we started dating. I'm trying to know his family now, and I'm noticing some things about him that I don't really like. And then I like the response the person got. All those 6 years you have been doing has been nothing. It is now that there's intentionality that you are now knowing certain things about him. Because as at that point in time, I'm talking to you, I'm talking to a lot of other people. There's no special talk I'm having with you. There is no need for me to project myself in a certain light to you. Now, as at the point when it is, you are becoming my person, the intimacy is so much that there are a lot of things about me that you get to know now. At this point in time, your eyes for searching for things are now open. It is just now because of intentionality. Intentionality is everything. If I go to this place and I'm looking for green things, I would most likely not see any red thing. But the moment I say I want to start looking for red stuff, I will see all the red things. They will just pop out in my eyes. We basically see with our brain. So our eyes are an extension of our brain. So what we think we want to see is what we basically see. So if you're coming, to have to a relationship and you say nothing, we don't know what we're doing, you will lose out on a lot of things. You will not carefully check some things. But if you know that this person is the person you are considering your future with, you'll begin to take it more seriously. So that's it. So direction, a man provides direction, and just like God, meant to direct our lives, men are supposed to direct the lives of their women. And the truth is this: every man naturally fits into that role when you are a serious person in his life. Any man that does not ask you, where are you going to? Why are you going to that party? Why are you hanging with that girl? Why is this person your friend? If your man is not asking you any of these questions, please commit him to flames. He is just wasting your time. He has no plans for you. A man naturally will be protective of you. Maybe there is some limit to which the protection can now turn into, some level of insecurity. But just know that a man is going to be protective of you if he actually considers you, because he sees you as an extension of himself at that point in time. He sees you as a part of his mission. So he wants to know if, just like I'm fighting a war and I'm recruiting, a second in command for my army, and the second in command is not training properly, or is just doing anyhow, I was like, oh boy, second in command, behave. Now what we did, so that's exactly what happens. The man wants to, he wants to check male friends because, of course, he understands men more than you do, and you might just feel like some male friends in your life are being, in fact, that's happened to my woman a number of times. She feels like this male friend is just being friendly, but I know the game. Amy, I know the game. So me, I would just tell her, say, see, okay, do this and do that, and then very slowly the guy is revealing his true colors. At that point in time, depending on how you handle that situation, it might look like you're being insecure and you're just trying to be controlling. But many times when everything comes to settle, a woman gets to see the reason for a man's guidance in her life. Sometimes, whether I like it or not, as much as we try to disprove this, women are more inclined to go in with their emotional cues, than their logical. Not like women are not logical, but they are more inclined, to rationalizing an emotional decision. So women will make a decision emotionally and then rationalize it with logic because they have logic. They're human beings. They have reasoning. But then men will make a logical, conclusion, and then start now looking for a way to use an emotion, to emotionalize it, so to speak. So men would, come to a conclusion or think logically and then use emotions at the end. Women use emotions first and then use logic at the end. And that's just a simple difference between men and women. That's just a simple difference. And knowing that about women, there are a lot of ideas you have in your mind at some point that if you do not run it by your man, you might make a wrong decision. Many times, that's happened so many times, and I know a lot of people that have confessed to this, that she had one idea in her mind and then decided to just call her man, and then her man talked her out of that stupid thing, and then she feels like, oh, thank God I have this kind of person in my life. Of course, anybody in the family can be the more rational one, whether man or woman, but the onus lies on the man to give direction for his family. Because if you are bringing in somebody and you are telling a person to submit their life to you, it means you have to have a mission. You have to have where you're going. You have to have some decision making, abilities, some leadership abilities. And leadership abilities doesn't mean you know everything. Leadership abilities means you know how to harness the knowledge of everyone around you. So in case your woman maybe possibly is better with finances, you can't make a decision on finance without an input because she's better, obviously. So in that kind of situation, being a leader means you are going to harness that ability that she has and call her and say, okay, how do we do this? Just more like a delegation. But the truth is that the overall running, the direction and the movement of the family rests on your shoulders. You are the head of the family. Same thing too with CEOs in companies. They lead their company. Their main job as a CEO is to provide vision for the company and provide direction, and present the company in the best light. And I've said that about the man already. A name, which is and legacy, project company or the family in the best light, also provides leadership direction. So a man is meant to provide direction. So what else should this man provide? Yes, provides love. Now, of course, everything a man does should already be predicated on love, but sometimes women forget that you can only love a person based on how they perceive love. We have to be sure we are loving rightly and not just providing, so that they won't say, I didn't provide. Everything you do should stem from genuine love, like Christ commanded. Now let's look at it this way. Some men just basically, they believe that they should just be giving the woman money. And maybe what the woman truly craves at that point in time is not money, but maybe just some level of security. Maybe because you're moving around with too many women and rubbing it in her face and she feels like, I'm not secure here. One day, this guy doesn't have enough discipline to keep this family moving. At some point, he might just say he wants another woman and then leave me. At that point in time, she feels, insecure, the next step for such women, like we have seen a lot of times, is start planning her exit strategy. She starts keeping money aside that she doesn't tell you. She starts maybe running a bank account that you're not aware of. Starts turning the children against you. She's preparing for when you go sup. And sometimes a person that's in that position wants to hit you first before you hit them. And that's why we have the situations of men who take women abroad and then the woman divorces the man immediately. And then the reason why she can do this is because in Nigeria, she feels like she might not be able to get what she wants to get from you by divorcing you. So for her to she stays with you because you are still giving her money. But over there, she can get money from you. You can be paying alimony or child support or whatever. You could be paying her money while she's not with you. She can divorce you and gain a lot from doing that action. So that idea, because she doesn't feel secure with you already, so she's already planning all of that. So what I'm trying to say is that when you want to love a person, you have to love a person based on how they perceive love to be. Some people don't want you to be buying them cars. I know of a couple. This woman had grown herself. Her family had taught her how to be independent, so she wanted to buy her first car with her own money. And then she told her husband that this is her dream car, she's saving to buy it. And you know what the husband did? The husband went to buy the car for her. And then she came back one day and said, honey, look at your car, the car you are saving to buy. And the woman felt unhappy about that. And the guy was wondering, why are you not happy? This is the car you have been dreaming of. But she has been dreaming of getting the car herself. If you are a man who was attentive, you'll be able to understand that the greatest love you can show to this woman right now is keeping your money in your pocket and letting her feel fulfilled about what she has gotten for herself. But now you're robbing her of that joy. You see? So that's why people talk about love language and all of that. All I just say is that simply understand the person you are with and understand the things that make them tick. I always make sure I ask my woman, I will ask her, I was like, okay, is there anything that you feel like you want me to be doing that I'm not doing? I do these audits from time to time. I call it the relationship audit. I always advise every guy or my friends to do it. Relationship audit is very important. Audit the relationship, know what is going on, know all the places where fuck up the day, And I do this with my woman often, like I said. I always ask, where is it that I'm fucking up? Let me know, how do you want to be loved? What are the things you like? Do you like this? Some women like the gifts to be given to them as surprises. They don't really like it to be handed over to them. The first time I got my girl a gift, I took her out and said, hey, pick one you like. And she felt, I knew, though she liked it and she thanked me. But at some point we were having a discussion and I asked her, do you like surprises? She said yes. I said, would you have preferred if I gave you that gift I gave you on your birthday as a surprise? She said yes. And then I knew that going forward I needed to surprise her. Valentine's Day I will surprise her. Even if I'm not a Valentine's person, I don't believe in all of that. But because she believes in it and it's a way she sees love being expressed, I'm going to do it for her. That is giving, that is loving. So one thing we need to understand as men is that you need to understand how a person wants to be loved. You cannot say you are solving, for example, in business, you can't say you are solving a customer's needs and it's from a perspective of how their needs want to be solved. You have to understand how they want that need to be solved. And that's why it takes a longer time to plan than to execute these things, because you have to think thoroughly and thoroughly how these people want to be served. Same thing in your relationship. How does your woman want to be loved? So you need to love your woman in that way. And if that's why some men, you see, they did everything right and this woman doesn't just appreciate it. Some women want drama. Some women want fighting. That's how they know that their man cares about them. Their man gives them one or two things to shake up everywhere. No peace. Sometimes let there be some. And if you know you're not that kind of man, go for a woman who wants less of that. That's just the truth. If you're a man that also are like that, then go for a woman. Just go for the woman that you can, love her in a way that she would understand. Some people are used to toxic love. There's no amount of pure, healthy love you're going to give to these people that they would understand. They're just used to toxic stuff. They will not understand it. You're going to be like, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? This guy doesn't love me at all. You'll be surprised. So that's why that is important. So let's move on. So the last one, a man provides life. See, everything he does is to provide life for his family. But for him to have a family in the first place, he must provide life by planting his seed inside the woman and causing life to start inside her. A lot of people talk about the woman and they say, well, the woman brings life, the woman is a bringer of life. Well, we understand that the woman is a collaborator in the bringing of life. Both men and women bring life. But who plants life? Now, look at the word semen. The word semen is the Latin word for seed. It means you have to plant a seed. And no matter how fertile the soil is, if a seed is not planted or if nothing is put in that soil, there's nothing that's going to come forth, right? So now, a viable ovum, egg, is released and waiting for fertilization. And what happens? Life only starts when a living sperm, which is alive, with a head and a tail, swims and goes there to fertilize it. That starts life. So a man basically provides life. Sex is an act of provision. Sex is an act of provision. It is not, it's an act of giving. Most men think they are the ones being given sex. No, it's an act of giving. It's a necessary act of giving, though pleasurable, but still an act of giving. Just to tell you that giving is actually pleasurable. Now, the man releases some nutrients, though in minute form, but a man actually releases some nutrients when he ejaculates. Now, sperm contains some nutrients like zinc and some others I can't really point out right now. But now, though these nutrients are in very minuscule quantity, they are depleted from the man's body, and when they touch the woman's body or when they go into the woman, they sort of nourish her. So it's more like you giving nourishment to the woman. So sex is you giving nourishment to the woman. Yes, there are a lot of benefits of sex for the man too, but I want to speak specifically with the sex cells, which is sperm and ovum. A man gives. You do all the work most times when you're even having sex. So you give pleasure, and at the end of it, you give your seed, which is it's a life force. You give that life force to the woman, and then she nurtures this life you are giving to her, to completehood or to completeness. She nurtures it to when it is finished, and then a full project is formed. Same way, everything you give to a woman, she's supposed to be able to turn it to a better form for you. You can't simply be with women that you cannot give something that they can help you with, that they can help you, bring something back out of. That is just how it is. So life is well formed. So now, by the time we look at all of these things that we have said a man provides, who do we see? What is this? What can be the paradigm of that activity or those actions that a man has to do, or that personality that a man has to embody in the family? The only thing I can think of is God. The only person that we expect this from as humans is God. So a man mimics God in the family. He's a representation of God in the family. Once a man doesn't do these things, he's giving a poor representation of who God is to his family. So, this very long video, the simple idea I'm trying to communicate to everyone who is listening to me is that you cannot overemphasize the importance of the masculine presence in the home, and also in relationships between men and women. Men should not undermine, diminish, or underestimate the importance of their presence, the efficacy of their presence. Who you are as a man is very, very important. It's a very, very important thing. That's when I see men treating masculinity as just anything, men just being anyhow. I'm like, you don't know who you are. So most of our movements at Rising Men is to make men into kings again. Let men start thinking of themselves as kings would. Let men start understanding, how to carry themselves properly. Let men start moving gracefully. Let men start understanding the efficacy of masculinity and manhood. And let men start taking it with the utmost seriousness in everything that they do. The journey still seems long, but I know that we're getting there, and we're working with a lot of people, aligning with many of the things we're trying to do at Rising Men. Changing their dressing, they're changing many things around their image, they're changing how they speak, they're changing their perceptions about women, their perceptions about sex. They're changing a lot of these things because they want to be better and they want to restore the crown to the head of the king. Stay rising.